Would you be willing to channel for us a little bit?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
brother.
yes,
you can
yes.
take your time.
Okay, great. Good. A pleasure to be with you in your, we will call it your high frequency speedy spaceship. For that is what you two like to do. You are very good at speed, and you are very good at grounding high frequencies on Earth. In fact, high frequencies was something that was very important to both of you when you were younger, and there were areas that both of you could find those high frequencies, but you also each had your own relationship to the pain of the world, and how the pain of the world would stop people from accessing their higher selves, their higher hearts, their higher minds. So a journey of discovery for both of you was, how do we create magic on Earth? For creating magic on Earth allows people to access this realm of frequency. So we meet you at this moment in your journey where you, Cody and Tanya, are creating, with the help of your team members, this vessel that goes out to the world, and you create an upshift in people's speed and people's frequency. Why is the speed important? Well, because light moves fast. Light moves fast. So, in order to access your light, you tend to access a new level of speed in yourself, either in the way that you process information, in the way that you move through feeling and your senses, or in the way you receive messages from outside your body that will activate your heart, your soul, your light, animate you as a person. So, we will say that you two are high-frequency speed ambassadors, and that is what you are doing here. So it's a pleasure to be in your field and in this place where you broadcast to the world. We will say that your ultimate mission is one of connection and love, and the two of you will work tirelessly to create that in a myriad of different ways. But the other important thing to understand about the work you do is it helps ground you on Earth. Any of you who came here to Earth to be an ambassador of oneness, an ambassador of love, connection, an ambassador of reminding humans that they are part of a grander cosmic family, your work will ground you on Earth. It will help Earth make sense to you. And so there are those who tune in on the two of you because they are inspired by you and they are doing their own version of what you do. But there are others who are not necessarily doing this work in the world. So how do they ground into this energy? Well, they ground into it through the work that you create. A conversation and a transmission like this will allow them to feel inside themselves the higher frequencies, the wider frequencies, the ability they have to tap into what we would call wider universal light, what might be called by humans wider universal intelligence. So, your role on Earth is quite simple. You are here to create more connection and love. And the two of you are going through an important phase in your lives right now where you are beginning to include yourselves in a bigger way, which is good, meaning you are not just here to serve others. You are understanding that now you have got things up and running the way you want them to be up and running, including yourself. Your own desires, wants, needs when it comes to your own personal growth is very important. But both of you have been ambassadors of this energy before. And in fact, Tanya, you have been the organizer and the orchestrator. And Cody, you have been the orator. So the two of you have worked in those roles before, where Tanya was completely behind the scenes before, and it was Cody who was out front being the orator. And in this life, because harmony and balance is a focus for both of you in your own relationship, you decided to balance those roles more and to be seen as a divine partnership, which is also its own modeling. So yes, you could say you are here asking questions and that's useful and nice, but we would also say you are here modeling frequency. You are here modeling the frequency of your relationship, and you are here modeling what the frequency of your relationship can open up or bring out in a guest or guests who you may converse with. So, what happens to people who listen to this show? They tune in on their higher mind. And that is how many of them begin. But what is the end result for all of them is they will tune into deeper, wider feeling and knowing. And knowing is bodily. It is not to do with the mind. Knowing is when your body is settled, is calm, is open, understands what's going on, is fully rooted in its power on earth, and yet connected to the light of its soul, and how that soul connects to all other souls in the universe, not just those on earth. So there is a main frame that all of you come from, that many of you are working to get back to. And through this show, we will call it, we will also call it more of a broadcast transmission, for that is really what it is doing. It is a signal that people can imbibe and use to activate their own signal program. You are bringing your light to the world and doing the job you promised to do. And a decade from now, you will both be very surprised how far-reaching and broad it has become. But your dedication right now is to wake up as many as possible, and more importantly than waking people up, support those who are already awake, but may not know exactly how to organize themselves. Now they are walking with new legs and feet. So, with that said, we will turn ourselves over to your questions.
What is the best way to help people organize for themselves after their awakening process?
It depends on the level of, we will call it, dislocation the person has. There are some who have an awakening and it might unearth almighty trauma for them. They may need to clear a great deal from their energy field from this lifetime. And so their awakening process can be a little more, shall we say, chaotic looking and a little less what you might call successful, meaning it might take 3 or 4 years to stabilize. Now, we would not call that unsuccessful. We would call that the perfect time for that person. So what we will say to you about people's stabilization is the same rules apply after awakening in terms of what you need as a human to feel balanced, grounded, and aligned on earth. You need connection. Connection to something, someone, or a group greater than yourself. It may be that you are connected to a purpose you have on earth, a passion. You are an artist and you are devoted to painting, and that is your connection point. But you also need community. Even those of you who are not so fond of people, you need community, whether it is through the elementals that you are in communion with on an energetic level, whether it is the domestic pets or animals that you take care of. You need connection. You need community. You also need a relationship to vitality. And with this, we do not simply mean eat well and exercise, although, of course, those, as you all know, are very good for your human body. They help support your electrical energy field and your longevity. But what we mean by this is you need to feel nourished by your life. You need to have something in your life that you feel is feeding you. So all of these principles post-awakening still apply as if it were pre-awakening. But what happens during an awakening is you are literally lifted out of your old energy field. And often many of you are lifted up above your bodies to facilitate this. So you can have that lovely experience of being very high for a while because you are. But what then happens is you get put back into your body so that you can excavate and, we will say, cause dissonance in your energy field for some of the heavier, lower vibrations that you are now ready to release. And as you are releasing them, you often feel them as if they are happening all over again. So let's say you were a very self-critical person before your awakening, and you get a 3-week awakening where you feel in pure bliss, pure openness, pure harmony, pure oneness. It is joy, 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 and you think you have found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Shock of all shocks, in week 4, you suddenly feel devastated and you cannot put your finger on why you have dropped down into this intense grief. Well, because your frequency shifted high enough that you are now ready to dislodge that which can no longer be the foundation. You cannot have heaviness and grief as the foundation of a lighter, brighter energy. So you have to let it move out of your system. You can always intend for a more peaceful awakening by remembering you have a lot of power in your words and your energy direction. You can say, I need peace. Please, universe, bring me peace in this awakening process. Universe, please bring me grace and ease in this awakening process. So part of the problem for many of you when you first go through your awakening or are post-awakening is you still have victim consciousness running. So you still think you are a victim of something that happened to you. You are not yet aligned with the understanding that, my awakening just occurred for me. So now I can make an awakened choice, which is to speak to my guides, my team of angelics, the universe, and ask for this process to go a little more smoothly. And on a human level, I will support and back that up by making sure I am taking good care of myself as I go through this. So awakening is different for different people depending on how much they need to dislodge at that moment in time. But remember, awakenings happen repetitively. There are very few who have one big awakening, and that is it. Most of you have a series of them. And as you get more acclimatized to awakening energy, as you go through further and deeper awakenings, they tend to be more of the pleasurable variety, the harmonic variety, and less of the, shall we call it, purge variety.
Is the vocation of the channel, medium, psychic, actually the evolutionary potential of all of humanity?
Yes and no. What we will say is not the vocation is the potential, but the ability is the potential. The vocation has grown in visibility simply because this is the way that many are learning. You are not holding groups in your town squares where people sit and meditate together or channel together, but your internet at this point in time is a place where people will go for frequency, for information, for experience, for sensory happenings through their body, starting with their mind or their heart. It is no different to someone who hears a certain piece of music and starts to cry. You can have the same reaction to something a person says, or something that comes through a channel or a conversation. So all humans are looking for this opening, this connection to something greater than themselves. And a big part of that is an increasing normalization for all of being reminded that this three-dimensional world that you might see or perceive as a humanity is not the world. It's simply one perspective and one layer of the world. And all of you now are coming back to what we would call cosmic consciousness, which is no longer human consciousness. It is the opening of the layers of truth that you are all of the universe, not of Earth. And that is something that in the coming decades is going to become completely understood on your planet, not necessarily peacefully at first. At first, there will be all kinds of reactions to it, but there will be enough of you that will stabilize this frequency on Earth and know that this frequency is of truth, that you will get through it as a humanity and you will cross to the other side where your understanding of being galactic becomes known. And your old ideas that you are human will start to become, we would call it, historic.
Wow. You just said galactic? Does that mean that what we call disclosure is imminent in the near future, where there is open contact with either interdimensional or extraterrestrial beings at a global level?
What do you think is happening in this moment in this room?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we would say disclosure has been happening for a very long time. Disclosure has been here for a very long time. Many are still looking for one big event. What we will tell you is it is a series of compounding events, conversations, telepathic communication that is reminding all of you of your true origins. Your story of being a human on Earth is a beautiful story, but it also has its darkness and its shadow as well, you know. So, as galactic consciousness is allowed to enter Earth's energy field in a deeper way, what you are beginning to be returned to are the higher harmonics of oneness consciousness. Now, is it possible to stabilize oneness on Earth in the next decade? No, it will not be. But that is not the goal, nor need it be. Oneness consciousness is going to continue to permeate slowly through more and more people who start to take that on, who are no longer concerned about their own life and their own, we will say, we do not mean this in a judgmental way, but we understand this word is often used that way, their own selfish focus. And we're not accusing people of being selfish here. We are simply saying they are more self-oriented. My family, my job, my belongings. There is no my. So we understand that the my is a point of focus for many, but that is what is dissolving on Earth. And as you become more galactic, your rigid, boxed ideas of who you are as humans starts to not only dissolve, but also expand. And as the vastness of your soul starts to return to you, you begin to have access to cosmic information. You begin to have access to your cosmic energy field, which is electrical in nature and is enormous. So let's explain this to you. You are looking at a human's body. Let's say there is a human you are looking at right now and you can see their physical body. The cosmic energy field, that which connects you to universal knowledge, universal energy, that is, we will describe it in measurement terms. You could see 10 meters all the way around the human body. And that is the beginning of a cosmic energy field. That is how wide a cosmic energy field can go. So yes, you look at your bodies as a fixed point. And understandably, there are limits to your physical body. We understand that. But the physical body is just the reference point. It's the point through which everything else is carried. This is why some are still mystified about psychic information. They will say things like, how did that person know that about me? That's the wrong statement. The statement should be, how is it that person was able to access the information about me that exists all around me? Because that's what they did. They are able to live in that realm, that width, that vastness of their own energy field, and they are able to, in a sensory way, pick up whatever information you are offering to them. This is why the power that is attributed to a psychic or an intuitive is often inappropriately fearful. People are worried about what someone else might see about them. Well, that is par for the course. You are an open book as a soul. You have been taught as humans you need to hide parts of who you are because you were taught to be ashamed of parts of who you are. That is the biggest crime. The biggest crime on Earth is that humans were tampered with and were what we will call dumbed down in terms of their potential. And this happened 10,000 years ago. So you are now at the point in time where you are beginning to come back online. The future human is already here, and there are going to be many of you who are the seeds of it, many of you who are the way showers for it, many of you who are the bridges of it. You are not special. It is just your role. But for many of you, it's the only reason you came back. And for many of you, it's the last life in this incarnation. You said, yes, I'll come back as a bridge builder. That looks like purposeful work. That will make the incarnation tolerable. Yes, sign me up. And many of you only agreed to do it if you could have other allies come too. So we know that some of you, like you, Cody and Tanya, found each other, and that is wonderful. But this is an era where more of you are going to find each other. And we don't just mean in romantic relationship, even though that's a very powerful form of awakening, to be in romantic relationship. But you are in romantic relationships with pets, with business partners, with friends. And you may say, I'm not in a romantic relationship with my business partner. We'll say, yes, you are. There is all kinds of energy flying between you all the time, which is why when you all get very precise and prim and proper about who is a romantic partner and who isn't, for us, it's very sweet to watch you need to organize it all that way. But love is love. You love your friends. You love your partner. You love your mother. You love your child. You love your pet. You love that tree in your garden. Love is love. Love is a connective force. So more of you are going to be finding your, we will call it, mission partners on Earth. This next 5 years particularly, if you are someone who is lonely right now, cast an intention. I want to meet more of my tribe. And you will, because that is how you are going to grow this together.
Did you just say that we were inappropriately tampered with 10,000 years ago?
Yes.
Who so, how so, and why?
Not for today. Because, and we will explain why. By placing focus there, it is going to drag too many people back.
Yeah.
And we have touched on this inside various things we have said over the years. But at the same time, it is more important that you all focus on the now, because the way your consciousness has been organized, if you all go into fear or history, it tends to shut you down. So we are not in any way trying to imply that you or your listeners are not capable of this information being received in a good way, but we are telling you that if we go there now, we will drop the frequency of this conversation. And that is not your or our goal.
We agree. We do not want to focus on the fear, but focus on the positive and what unites us. What's up, Tanya?
Speaking of fear, there's a lot of chaos in the world right now, and people are very fearful of what is coming and what our future holds. Is there anything that you can offer the audience to help them during this time?
Yes, one of your biggest challenges right now is discerning when you are being manipulated into fear, because that is happening a lot. So we will address this term conspiracy theories, which has been very much out in the public awareness for many years. And we would say from 2020 onwards, things took an even bigger turn in that direction because of events on Earth that led people to start to connect the dots, shall we say. So conspiracy theories have traditionally been something that you are supposed to be ashamed of, fearful of, and back away from. The energy around that term has been to create the idea that those who believe in conspiracy theories are, shall we say, the word nuts would have been used in the past, or crazy is another word that you would have used. And no one wants these words applied to them on Earth because they understand that could mean ostracization, isolation, and that is not desired. But you are at a time right now where the truth is beginning to surface and different pieces of the truth are beginning to come out. But this is very important, and we have said this for many years. There are those who have also infiltrated the spiritual community to try and fill the spiritual community. So with everything you read, with everything you see, with everything you are exposed to, a level of discernment has to be applied for you. There are many on Earth who have heard a story and decided that that story is the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it is anything but the truth. It has a few grains in it. But it also had a huge dollop of fear. And one of the things that was done by those who did not want the awakening to rise on Earth was to try and co-opt a great deal of spiritual groups into a more fear-based, fear-filled future. Because if you get the visionaries to vision a future that looks very dark, you will help your plan along. Because those visionary minds, those visionary hearts, those visionary souls will start to see, this is the future. This is why we have always said, be very wary of the fixed prediction that tells you what is going to be happening 3 months, a year, 2 years from now. There are predicted themes, there are predicted energies, but you must always recheck because as time moves on, so too does the future timeline adjust. So anytime you hear someone telling you that the world is going to end in 3 months, write down the date, put it on your calendar. And once you've gone through a few of those and you've noticed, we're all still alive, or we are under the illusion we are alive, but we're actually in some other realm, but okay, I'll get on with it. Then you start to notice, fear was the motivator of that. And I spent 3 months disempowered, terrified that we were all going to experience a tsunami that was going to wipe out our city because a very reliable spiritual voice said it. So, ask yourself, what am I believing and why? We have always said, part of the problem that many of you have is you're so fixated on your fear of the future, you're forgetting to live in the present. You are alive. And every choice that you make while you're alive in the present is having a ripple effect on the future, which is why it is not a mistake or a waste to create love and kindness on earth. And those who are screaming at you saying, there is no time for love and kindness, the world is in a state of emergency, that is their trauma speaking. That is their trauma speaking. If they only have room for anger and judgment, be compassionate to them. They are flooded with fear right now. It's not their fault, and they might even think they are trying to protect you. But their righteousness about being right is going to be a problem for them and you. So, to all of you, we would say, hold information lightly. Check predictions, monitor them, study them, see if they come true. And most importantly, a prediction is not something that is given to you so that you can passively sit there and wait for it to play out. A prediction is you looking at your future and seeing where you are headed and giving yourself the opportunity to make a slight refinement or adjustment. That is the power of predictive information. It is not to make you a passive people. It is to make you an active people. And it is to make you a group who understand that the future timelines are here right now, and you are creating the future in this moment. So anyone else who is robbing you of your future by telling you this is how it's going to be, ask yourself, why would I believe that story from that person? Now, we do speak about future events. We do mention things that we are aware of that are coming. But as we always say, as you get closer to each event, it can always be changing and adjusting. And one of the things that we can promise you about this time is the level of chaos and the level of purge and the level of breakdown that you are seeing. But one of the things we have also been promising for years, and that is still playing out, is the level of innovation in consciousness that you are seeing, not just in technology, in consciousness. So, you are in a very difficult, what we would call bottleneck period on Earth. It's not always comfortable, but as those of you who are awake can attest, it has never been more alive in terms of what is available. And the reason there are many of you imbibing that aliveness right now is you are turning it into pockets of aliveness on Earth, either through the consciousness you're creating in the way that you are transmitting and emitting yourself onto the planet, or because of things that you are creating for communities, others. You are powerful beyond measure, and you have been told that is not the truth. So any story that sees you downtrodden, controlled, manipulated, may be coming from the group who desire that to be the reality. Are you going to believe their version of reality? Or are you going to work to diligently and vigilantly create something else? And we understand there are some of you listening to us right now very angry at us for saying this. You say, well, how are we supposed to rise above the system? How are we supposed to get out from under it? And we say, it's not yours to work out with the mind. There will be those of you who will work it out. There are those right now who are in the architecture of various areas on Earth, including politics, as we speak, who are working diligently and quietly and invisibly to help shift the paradigm. But if you aren't on board, and if you feel passive, and if you feel like the world is doomed, you have lost your light. You have lost your connection to light. And by the way, that happens. Don't worry about it. You all go through periods where you lose your connection to light. Why? So that you can come back stronger. It's the dark night of the soul. But don't let the dark night of the soul be the story you tell everybody about the world. Connect to your light. Find your way back. It may take you months, but start small. Ask yourself, what will bring me back to connection, community, purpose? Where do I begin? And if I begin, I will get back to a place where I can be a powerful vessel for this earth and a vessel of change and transformation while I am alive. And today, I know I'm alive. Who knows about tomorrow? You all need to start living from that place of power, which is present moment living. It's not fear-based to remember that you could be dead in a week. It's powerful and it's present.
Is so-called paranormal phenomenon something to be feared, or is it simply the divine reaching out to us, viewed through the lens of fear?
There are a couple of ways we can answer this, but we will start here. It is not to be feared, but there are, as there are on Earth with certain humans, there are certain entities that have not crossed over and that want to remain on Earth. And so they hover between Earth and the other side, and they try to get the attention of those who are sensitive. And part of the reason that people have fear-based reactions to this is because of the fear of the entity itself. When you are experiencing an entity who is not settled, who is not at peace, there is often a friction running through them. You would not necessarily encounter the ghost or the spirit or the apparition as holding fear, but you might feel unsettled in their presence. And that is less about you and your fear of seeing the other side. And it is more about the energy that they are trying to balance, process, release in themselves, that they are coming back to Earth to process. So there are those among you who are very adept at seeing through the veil, to those who have passed over. Boundary lessons are usually the issue here, and it is always good for you to look at your own ability with boundaries with other humans if you are having boundary issues with spirit. That is always a good thing to look at, because in many cases you will find that this is an opportunity for you to say no to these visitations, and to also learn to say no to energetic leakage or manipulation that is playing out in your human dynamics too. So no, the paranormal world, as you call it, is not to be feared any more than the human world. And you all have your horror stories about certain humans you wouldn't want to meet or be stuck in an elevator with. It is the same with what you call the paranormal world, but in most cases, it is simply you responding to what you are being shown or seeing, no different to what domestic pets are often seeing and picking up on, particularly the cats.
What are the best ways for people to open up their psychic and mediumship abilities?
Well, firstly, we would say know your goal. Meaning, there are many who say they want to open psychically but they haven't really thought it through. They just think it's an interesting thing, or they would like to have contact with that realm. We would say to you, good, be ready to change. It will change you. You won't be the same. And we don't say that in any ominous way. We do not mean you will not like who you become, but it won't be that you remain this person you are today and you suddenly have psychic communication available to you. No, it will start a process of you becoming more cosmic. So we have said this before, and Lee also speaks about this when he is talking to groups. It is the case that people use channeling to access their own soul. They think they're listening to a certain channeler or entity or guide that they enjoy, and that is often the truth in some ways, and there are many truths to that. But the greater truth is through exposing yourself to that energy, through either being in the room with it, listening to it on a recording or a transmission, you are going to open that energy field up in yourself. So we would say expose yourself to the art of connecting to the other side, whether it is through channeling, mediumship, intuitives, and it might be that you go to those people for either a reading or an experience so that they connect you into that energy, but you will then be able to connect to it yourself. So the one thing we will say to all of you is the voice of your soul has been trying to get back to you since you were a child. There are many of you who have refound the voice of your soul. You managed to hold on to it, nurture it, love it. But for many, and many including listening to this, The voice of your soul is waiting for you to allow it back in. Does not have to be a guide, does not have to be an angel, does not have to be a being from some other planet or dimension. It may be, but it does not have to be. The voice of your soul connects you to everything greater than your, we will call it, limited human experience. And when you bring the voice of your soul back in, your human experience starts to become a lot less limited, even if at the beginning there is loss. At the beginning, for many, when they tap into their voice of their soul, they have to rearrange their lives in such a way that they get rid of certain things before they can allow in the good. So more and more will connect to their psychic, intuitive selves as the years go on, because it will just become more normal. It will not become this novelty. It will no longer be this thing for people, but it will become an important part of people's wisdom and connection on Earth. And that is healthy, for it is the return of one of your skills and designs as humans.
You outlined or touched upon moments of intervention on this planet. We work with entheogenic psychedelic medicines, and some of them, particularly mushrooms and ayahuasca, seem like a technology. They do not seem like a drug or anything we've ever experienced. And our question is, was this placed on the planet by an outside source, or are these medicines of the earth?
Both are true. So they are medicines of the earth in that they are rooted into the crystalline grid of the earth, which is very deep at the heart of the planet. So they have roots to that crystalline energy, but the psychedelic component itself is what bypasses the limitation of the human mind and puts people back into the realm of one consciousness. One consciousness. However, how the person responds to that experience is entirely dictated by them. So if you have a very fearful person who has a psychedelic experience and they go into it with fear, they are likely to have a fairly, at least fear including experience. If you have someone who goes into the psychedelic experience open-hearted, open-minded, ready to be shown or experience something, they will go into it with a, we will say, calmer attitude and aptitude, and that will give them an experience that is lighter and brighter. However, there are those, what you might call trips, that take place for the more seasoned journeyer that will be intense or deep. But the seasoned journeyer will not see it as fear. The seasoned journeyer will understand that they have gone into the psychedelic realm, which is a realm of truth. It is a realm you are propelled into faster than you may have accessed it without the psychedelic impetus. Of course, there are many who meditate and create these states within themselves through other methods. But for those of you who journey, it is a, shall we say, window back to space. And that is very important for many of you. And this is why the cosmic connection that happens for so many with psychedelics is so powerful. But like any drug, if the dosage is not correct for the individual, if it is too much for them, or it is not something that aligns with their body, it will not necessarily be a harmonious experience. But for many, it will be the gateway, the doorway, the opener that they perhaps may not experience. Why? Because we said to you earlier, and Lee mentioned this also in more potent words than we did, spirituality is a sensory experience, not a mental one. And a psychedelic experience is highly sensory. And it is a way to put people into their senses who perhaps have not accessed their own senses for a long time.
When people have these experiences, they experience oneness. They call it many names: apotheosis, merging with the all that is, and people can access this through meditation and other ecstatic states of consciousness. This phenomenon can often heal people. It can often be transformational and transcendental. But this, when we return, we are left with sort of the suspicion that the separation is either an illusion or it is the source of all of our suffering and perhaps disease. Is this true?
Yes, the separation is an illusion, but there is an illusion on energetic levels and there are illusions on earth levels. And separation is not an illusion on the earth level, for it is sewn into your society. It is sewn into your society in many different ways. Now, the beauty of your society is that it also affords you all the ability to connect. It affords you, and so does your consciousness, it affords you the ability to connect. This is why those who have not developed their own consciousness are living in a form of prison. They are living in the personality, they are living in the physical impulse only, and they are often living in a very difficult state in their own mind. But those who have accessed oneness, those who have expanded their consciousness, they can move between the two worlds and the two states. So for all who are listening or thinking about either using the psychedelic experience or have had the psychedelic experience to open this consciousness, yes, you do access truth, but then you return to a world where psychedelic medicine, like many other plant medicines that are not psychedelic, were forbidden at a certain time on Earth. And still to this day, they are forbidden in many areas, many cultures. It is a doorway for healing, and there are many doorways for healing that have been hidden, removed, cast out, banned, destroyed, so that you get the limited version that you have all been given. And that is what is changing in your generation. In your generation, there is a new awareness of the return to the earth, of those things that were confiscated, and we will call it low vibration alternatives that were put in their place. So this is a period of emancipation for humans, and this period is going to last several decades. It won't always be easy. It will sometimes be messy. But more who are remembering oneness, whether it is through a psychedelic experience or not, once it's remembered, it cannot be forgotten. And the more humans walking around the planet with that level of awareness and knowledge fully in their body, fully in their energy field, fully in their mind, in their way of communicating, they change the vibration of the planet simply through what they emit.
We created Acid for Squares to try to help people heal, ease suffering, and to grow spiritually. How can we better execute this mission?
Well, we will say you created Acid for Squares to connect. And it's not to say that what you just said isn't also true. But actually what you did was you created this to connect with your own cosmic community, those others who felt othered like you did. You decided, we know what it is to feel othered. We know what it is to feel alone. We know what it is to not have access to what you need. So we will create something that will solve all of those issues. And we will join forces to do it, and we will see how it evolves. What we will tell you is your mission, your work, is going very well and has been going very well for quite some time. You will see that in 2026, you will reach a nexus point with this, we will call it method. We will call it framing of what you do. And this will remain, but you will expand beyond it in much bigger ways. So what has been created as a connection point and an education point is about to become more of a movement.